I come from Earth, a planet of outlaws. My name is Peter Quill. There's one other name you might know me by. Star-Lord.
Who?
Well, Star-Lord, man. Legendary outlaw. Guys, forget it. So here we are. A thief, two thugs, an assassin, and a maniac. But we're not gonna stand by as evil wipes out the galaxy. I guess we're stuck together. Partners.
Are you telling me the fate of 12 billion people is in the hands of these criminals?
Oh, yeah. Look around. You know what I see? Losers. But life's giving us a chance. To do what? Something good? Something bad? Bit of both.
Oh, what the hell? I don't got that long a lifespan anyway.
Well, John C. Reilly was right about one thing. It wasn't a good idea. It was a great idea. Welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. Today we are taking a look at the first two movies of August 2014 on the first day of August 2014. And our first one is definitely one of, if not the greatest movies of the... Not only one of the great movies of the year, one of the great movies of the decade, one of the great comic book movies of all time, and that is, of course, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy from director James Gunn. And, yeah, I don't think I need to say anything more about how great this movie is, but we gotta fill some time here. So, after stealing a mysterious orb in the far reaches of outer space, human Peter Quill, played by Chris Pratt, is now the main target of a manhunt led by the villain known as Ronan the Accuser, played by Lee Pace. To help fight Ronan and his team, including Gamora, played by Zoe Saldana, Drax the Destroyer, Dave Bautista, Groot, voiced by Vin Diesel, and Rocket Raccoon, voiced by Bradley Cooper, and save the galaxy from his power, Quill creates a team known as the Guardians of the Galaxy to save the world. And I was afraid that the movie was going to be really hard to sell to people. I mean, Marvel, they had a really big, tall task to sell this movie to people. I mean, you got a movie where you have two of your lead characters. One is a talking tree that literally has only three words as his lines overall, and a talking raccoon. It's going to be hard to sell to people. I mean, this is the same company that over 20 years ago had a hard time, 20 years up to that point. Actually, technically, it would have been nearly 30 years, because Howard the Duck came out in 1986. They couldn't sell Howard the Duck back then, but considering how Marvel has definitely found a better way of selling their movies to people ever since Iron Man came out in 2008, needless to say, yeah, I think they definitely succeeded in selling this to people, and yeah, this thing was a great, great movie, man. I mean, after all the game-changing elements and high-stakes drama that was in Captain America the Winter Soldier, it's good that we got something more lighthearted and funnier and more heartfelt. Even if there are some pretty good emotional moments in this movie, too. Like in the beginning when you have this young Peter Quill seeing his mother dying in a hospital and he runs away. And then he gets immediately abducted by aliens right from the start. It's just kind of like, talk about a way to start a movie. Like, the movie does properly lighten up and become such a good time after that. I mean, Chris Pratt in this movie, I mean, say what you will about him nowadays, but keep in mind that when this movie was coming out, nobody was really expecting Chris Pratt to become this reliable action movie draw that he has since become since then. I mean, you know, this was a guy that, as the decade began, was nothing more than Aubrey Plaza and then Rashida Jones's boyfriend on Parks and Recreation, you know, the goofy funny guy. You know, he took the Bruce Willis route. You know, Bruce Willis started his career off making appearances in these, making smaller appearances in smaller movies, and mostly became known for his comedic works. And then all of a sudden, Bruce Willis takes a movie like a Die Hard, and then all of a sudden becomes this top action movie draw. This movie kind of pushed Chris Pratt to that next level, and it turned out to work very well for him. In a very good year that also included the Lego movie, and then the following year he's going to have Jurassic World. I mean, he proves his star power potential by knocking it out of the park as Star-Lord. He is so much fun in this. And yeah, the other members are great too. I like the fact that they work off each other very well. Zoe Saldana is really good as Gamora. You know, she's a great badass character, and you do like her despite the fact that she is one of the daughters of the main villain of the movie that's going to be coming up in the future. I won't even say the daughter, like she was the caretaker of the, you know, the big baddie for the MCU coming up later down the road. As we get our first full look at Thanos, played by Josh Brolin in this movie. But you also have, you know, Dave Bautista, who is such a fun, over-the-top character as Drax that is very funny, but he can also take himself extremely too seriously because he has this deep backstory, but he's also not afraid to get a couple of good one-liners out of there. And especially the later films will definitely make more fun of that. You know, I talked about the fact that, you know, one of your two main characters is a talking tree that only has 3 words, but I'll tell you what, Vin Diesel as Groot, I mean, I don't know why it works so well for him to just go back and do smaller lines like that. I mean, it was like that with the Iron Giant too, but just like the Iron Giant, Vin Diesel as Groot is surprisingly really, really charming, and you do get a good sense of, you know, what this character is going through by just these 3 words in general here. I mean, and it just surprisingly works really well here. And, you know, Bradley Cooper is also a lot of fun as Rocket Raccoon. He's a badass, and he creates this very funny, unique character that I nearly thought was unrecognizable when I first saw it. Like, the first time I heard that voice, my first thought was, Bradley Cooper, this guy sounds like Mr. Green from Hey Arnold. Like, if you've ever seen Hey Arnold, and you see Arnold's, you know, Arnold's neighbor, who's like the butcher, Mr. Green, like, I swear, his voice literally sounds like Mr. Green from Hey Arnold. That's how much it literally feels like that. But they were the highlights of the movie. They were so well done. And, you know, Michael Rooker as Yondu is also really good, too. I mean, almost every line that comes out of Rooker is brilliant in here. It's just the way that he plays this character. It's like he is channeling his character from The Walking Dead, Merle Dixon, into this role and making him seem like the space version of this character. And of course, in the next movie, there's going to be a lot more to him in the storyline, and it actually gives him more of an in-depth story to tell in the later film that works very well. The villains are your typical generic comic book style villains with no real motivations except they want the world domination. I mean, we're basically going back to Thor the Dark World style villains here. They just want world domination, and that's it, rather than the Winter Soldier type that has more, they want more than world domination. And Lee Pace, he's fine in here, but he's trying a little too hard to be evil and just comes off as extremely goofy and lame, even though I will say this. Towards the end of the movie, where he has to, you know, he has to continue playing this character that's supposed to be serious and all of that against Chris Pratt, who's being extremely goofy during this dance sequence that they're doing, and you know, he's going like, "What in God's name are you doing?" And Chris Pratt's just like, "I'm distracting you, you turd blossom." Like, that was good. That's funny stuff right there. You know, Karen Gillan as Nebula is a much more dangerous threat in this movie than the main villain is, and she turns out to be one of the good guys later on in the series. Like, I mean, that's just the power of how great Karen Gillan is as an actress overall. Again, somebody else is having a really good year in 2014 with this and Oculus, and she's even on a show that was criticized when it was coming out called Selfie, but then all of a sudden when you watch it, it's just kind of like, yeah, it's actually much better than you would give it credit for. I was surprised at how much I enjoyed that show after it came off the air. And again, Josh Brolin shows up very few times in this movie as Thanos, and at the time, it didn't really feel like they were doing anything except just, you know, building up the fact that this is going to be the new baddie for the MCU. But of course, we now know that Thanos is actually pretty damn good, and the fact that they kept building him slowly but surely, it works so well. It works so well for what we'd eventually get in Infinity War and Endgame. I felt like Benicio del Toro's The Collector was kind of wasted in this movie. He only gets 2 scenes in the movie. There's one scene in the middle, and then there's the end credits scene, which is basically a tease to say that, hey, Howard the Duck also exists in this universe. And by the way, Seth Green is Howard the Duck. Like, how come Marvel has not done anything with that character? Like, you could do a Howard the Duck movie now, and I think people will more than be willing to buy that movie in general here. He's really not given a whole lot to do, Benicio del Toro is, and you think they'd give him more considering that how they teased him at the end of Thor the dark world. It's just kind of like, what was the point of doing that all then? It's just like, I mean, this isn't like what the MCU is doing now, like teasing all the stuff that eventually would never come. I mean, this was supposed to be the big thing that we're supposed to be building up to, and it's just that, it just doesn't come out all the way that I think they wanted it to come out. The rest of the cast overall is pretty good. Glenn Close, John Hansu, John C. Reilly, just to name a few. They're just kind of there in smaller parts in general. In fact, honestly, John C. Reilly probably is the one that has more to do in this film besides the Guardians overall. And, his performances overall was pretty good. The look and feel of the film is nicely done, too. You got a lot of great visual wonder to look at, and it doesn't feel overblown or pointless to the story. It feels like everything is happening for a reason. The story does a good job acknowledging the flaws that it has and has fun with itself. I mean, all the way down to the 70s and 80s music splattered throughout the film, which you would think would have nothing to do with the story, but it honestly plays a lot more than you would think, as we'll see, again, in the films to come. These songs do play a bigger role in this series than we could possibly expect it to be. Like, really, this movie could have been an all-out disaster in the wrong hands, but because James Gunn knows what he's doing, it's a story that doesn't want to take itself too seriously, and you have a good cast to make it happen. It's a good old-fashioned fun time at the movies that marks another winner for Marvel, who very rarely was putting out bad stuff at this point of going forward. I mean, the worst thing they had done at this point was Thor: The Dark World, and even then, there's still stuff about it that I still enjoy. Like, this movie, it's a movie that had its trepidations going into it, but thanks to people who knew exactly what kind of a movie they wanted to do, it succeeds and becomes one of the more enjoyable movie-going experiences that you'll ever have. I mean, it's definitely the beginning of one of the greatest trilogies overall in the MCU, because all the Guardians of the Galaxy movies are top-notch good, and it's just, I can't recommend this puppy enough, man. Guardians of the Galaxy is just such a fun movie. I enjoy the hell out of it. It's one of my favorite superhero movies of all time. Excellent film. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our last film that we have here, and that is Chadwick Boseman following up on his breakout role as Jackie Robinson in 42 with another influential person in entertainment history, this time in the world of music. I almost said the wrong name. I almost said Jackie Robinson again. James Brown in Get On Up.
Listen, one day, everybody gonna know your name. I'm just a street kid from Augusta, Georgia.
James Brown is a powerhouse talent.
I am the show. I'm gonna be the business too.
Just do your thing, James.
What exactly is the groove?
The groove is something you feel.
Can you define it?
I just did, lady. What the hell you doing?
That's the mashed potato.
That ain't nobody's mashed potato.
Get On Up, the story of James Brown.
So this is, of course, the biopic focusing on the life of James Brown, played by Chadwick Boseman. From his younger years as a boy, having his mother, Viola Davis, leave him, having to move in with his aunt, played by Octavia Spencer, and getting into trouble with the law in his later teen years, it shows you the boundaries that he broke and the risks he took. Even with only a 7th education, Brown still knew how to handle business. It also shows his relationship with women, his band, and his drug abuse in the 1980s. It's a film that circles around the obstacles James Brown had to come through, and all the pain he had to suffer and endure from his past to rightfully earn the name, the Godfather of Soul. This is the follow-up to Tate Taylor's The Help, which features, of course, Octavia Spencer, who won the Oscar for that performance. And, you would think with a movie like this, he's trying to branch out his director bills with a movie like The Help, and it's a film that kind of works, but also kind of doesn't. Yes, because the movie gets a lot of its great material from its script, which does a commendable job working with the biopic format that we've seen done to that before so many times without making it too predictable, although it does really come close. But without a doubt, the best thing about the movie is the casting, and Chadwick Boseman, like I said, coming off of Jackie Robinson in 42, once again playing another famous figure in the form of James Brown, and he is absolutely pitch perfect in this role. Like, he's the selling point, and Boseman lets it know that he's taking this very seriously, and he knows that this movie is his puppy, and if this movie is going to fail, it's not going to be because of him. The cast also is very well, too. Nelson Ellis as Bobby Bird, Octavia Spencer as Aunt Honey, Dan Aykroyd as Ben Bart, Viola Davis as his mother. The rest of the cast overall is really good, given what the material given to them. But that does lead to a lot of the major flaws with the movie, and there are some big ones. Most notably, the fact that it's a biopic that is so much It feels like a safe and marketable movie. As the movie mostly succeeds with working the biopic cliches, there are way too many cliches that really do not need to be there. I am so sick and tired of people throwing stuff to show off their anger. I mean, seriously, you could show off anger by not throwing something. In Jersey Boys, they didn't do that. When the characters threw at least 4... I mean, this didn't go as crazy as Jersey Boys, I should say, that when they had the characters throw at least 4 different items throughout the course of the film. It's only 2 this time around, but even then, that's still half of what they did in Jersey Boys. I also can't stand it when directors take artsy elements to their story that have no purpose whatsoever. They have a scene that takes place in 1988 where James Brown is in a car crash, and throughout the chase he keeps seeing his father and mother in the police car, and then at the end of the chase, for some reason, he gets out of the car and it's him as a child. It's just like, I just saw Lucy the week before. I don't need any artsy bullshit anymore. Just, you don't have to have this in here. It makes no sense whatsoever. You don't need to keep adding symbolic stuff, like, because we're already invested in the story itself. We don't need this to be in here. Just like... But then the film really does a bad job trying to blend comedy and drama within the same scene. Most notably, one scene in particular. You've got this huge dance number that happens, and then it immediately cuts to a scene of a young James Brown stealing shoes from a black man hung to death. Like, Jesus Christ, it's like the opposite of the Bambi's mother scene that suddenly turns happy in the next scene. It's just like, you can't do these transitions without having a purpose to it. I mean, you just can't do it. And lastly, the biggest problem that I have with it is the fact that, yeah, the editing on this is absolutely terrible. Especially when you consider that this film consistently time jumps all out of order. It goes to 1988, then it comes back to 1971, then we're going to 1939, then we're going to 1964, then back to 1939. And at this point, it's just kind of like, what are you doing? Like, what are we doing here? And it doesn't work because your audience is trying so hard to stick with the story, and it doesn't help when you keep doing this random time cuts because your audience is going to get lost very quickly. It's like what Frank Miller did with All-Star Batman and Robin. We keep adding in these pointless timestamps that ended up making a lot of consistent plot holes in the story. Like, there are parts in that story where something will happen right as something of another part of the comic book is happening. It's just like, it makes no sense. It makes no sense to do it. Like, if there's one thing that I will say that's going for the movie, it's the fact that the performances do carry the load. Chadwick Boseman does sell the role of James Brown really well. He does keep the film afloat, and the rest of the cast does too. The script is good, but it needed a lot of help, and the editing really is the thing that really kills it. Like, the editing is so poorly done here. If it was better and there was more of an emphasis on adding these chipper moments that are followed by dark moments, maybe this movie could have been one of the best of the year. But as it stands, it's a fine movie, but it isn't a movie where I would say rush out to see it. It's a film which is kind of like, yeah. I mean, it's not a great movie, but it's not a bad one either. It just works because of Boseman's performance in the cast, but yeah, it's a major disappointment overall. I can't really say it's a good movie, but it's not a bad movie either. It just feels like so much was left on the table with this particular film. So that's Get On Up for you.
MC Mikey.
Rock and roll, boys.
You're talking turtle.
Remember that thing you used to say when we were kids?
I've been holding it in for years.
And welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. Today we are taking a look at the 4 films that make up August 8th, 2014. And of course, the biggest of the new releases was the Michael Bay-produced Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. Now, this was a movie that at the time was heavily criticized by the fact that Michael Bay's name was going to be attached to it. And of course, because of the lovely job that he's done with Transformers, yeah, not surprisingly, a lot of people were going into this with relatively not the best overall expectations for it, myself included. But movie came out, and surprisingly, it was a lot of fun. I mean, it was a movie that was really a lot more fun than I think a lot of us could possibly imagine. At least for me, it was. But this is a story where darkness has settled over New York City as Shredder and his evil Foot Clan have an iron grip on everything from the police to the politicians. The features grim until 4 unlikely outcast brothers rise from the sewers and they discover their destiny as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The Turtles must work with fearless reporter April O'Neil, played by Megan Fox, and her cameraman Vern Fenwick, played by Will Arnett, to save the city and unravel Shredder's diabolical plan. So what's notable about this is that Megan Fox came back to work on a Michael Bay project, even though she and him had some negative comments about each other in between Transformers Revenge of the Fallen and this movie. That's why she wasn't in the third movie, nor was she in the fourth movie overall. But, you know, when you really look at it, it's amazing how Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, of all things, has held up over the course of time, becoming one of the more powerful franchises in town, next to Marvel, DC, and many other franchise properties. Like, you would think this would be something that would be so dated so quickly that it would largely be forgotten, but no. Even to this very day, there is still an undenying love for the Ninja Turtles, even after all these years. And even with Nickelodeon doing its best to give the show some life to it, because the original, the 2012 show was going on around this time, they are still a reliable name here. And, you know, unfortunately, Michael Bay was as well. And, you know, you have him attached to this. And not only that, you have the director, Jonathan Liebsman, who is a director who's made a lot of movies that I really do not like. You know, Darkness Falls, Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the Beginning, Battle of Los Angeles, Wrath of the Titans. So yeah, hack director all the way across the board. So you would think with all these things going on, there would be zero expectations for this to turn out to be as good as it was. But surprisingly, it was a very enjoyable movie. Like, there are some flaws we're going to get to here, but there is a lot to love about this movie in particular. I like the fact that you could tell that this movie was made by people who love these characters and knew what they didn't want to fuck up something that was working. They keep a lot of the same qualities that we knew about from the characters from the show and the comics and add some new elements to it, like how April does have kind of a connection with the Turtles before she even knows them. Like, and again, speaking of April, Megan Fox played the role surprisingly pretty good. I mean, she was actually really good in this movie in general. I mean, you know, I would have said somebody else in general should have probably taken this role. Like, the four names I kept going to back then were like, you know, Jennifer Lawrence, Anna Kendrick, Allison Brie from Community, Allison Williams from Girls. Like, I thought those people could have played a better April, but Megan Fox makes the role her own, and she makes it work very well. I mean, she's doing the best job she can with the material given to her. I thought the turtle designs were also very unique, too, and I'm glad they kept the cast of the Turtles, at the time, mostly unknown actors, with the big one being Johnny Knoxville as Leonardo, who I actually thought was a pretty good Leonardo there, and they replaced him with somebody else in the second movie. I can't remember who it was, but I also like that for a Michael Bay associated production like this, you got to see the fight sequences, and you could tell what was going on. This isn't like the Transformers sequels where, you know, you could barely see what's going on. You could see everything that's going on, and it looks pretty badass when they do it. So, and like I said, the action sequences overall are nicely done. But there are a lot of weaker elements to it, mostly with the rest of the cast. I mean, William Fichtner's over-the-top fun villain role is kind of unnecessary, and I'll touch on that a little bit later on here, but it's just like, you know, Will Arnett was decent enough, but you gotta get somebody funny like him. You get somebody funny like him, and you don't give him really a whole lot of comedic elements to work with here. I mean, yeah, we know nowadays he's a good dramatic actor with this thing on, but at the same time, it's just kind of like, you know, this guy's known for comedy. Give him something to work with here. You can do the same thing with Whoopi Goldberg, Abby Elliott, and Taron Killam. They really have nothing to do here except to just show up, play these characters, and then, you know, these stock characters, and just go on with their day. It's just kind of like, what's the point of even bringing them in here? Like, why'd you waste this time on these actors in this? But the CG on Splinter is really bad. I mean, the film doesn't even give him really much to do except to just, you know, deliver backstory and then fight the Shredder in one scene later on. Other than that, he's kind of thrown in here for no particular reason. He's supposed to be one of the main characters, and the film just throws him off to the side for the second half of the movie. Like, he's barely in this movie. Even though I thought Tony Shalhoub did a decent job as Splinter, it's just kind of like, why'd you even bother having him in here? I mean, of course you gotta have Splinter in here, but at the same time, it's just kind of like, what's the point? Like, what, if you're not gonna do anything with him, then what's the point? Let's talk about the Shredder, though, because, yeah, he has a cool-looking design, but honestly, he was the most boring thing about this movie. He really has nothing to do except to just be the evil villain in here. I mean, really, the Shredder is supposed to be one of the main villains of the Turtles, and this movie doesn't give him anything new or inventive to work with here except to just be a cardboard cutout evil villain. In fact, his plot with William Fichtner's character is pretty much the same plot as The Amazing Spider-Man. It makes no sense as a plan already, but really the biggest flaw of the movie is that they always end something cool in the movie on a cliche. Like, you always see that awesome-looking CG shot where for a few seconds the Turtles go from atop a building down to the sewers. And it looks seamless and cool. And just when you think it ends on a high note, pointless fart joke. Like, they throw in these pointless jokes that are only there because the studio probably told them, hey, we gotta throw these in here. Or Michael Bay probably told them, hey, you gotta throw this in here. It makes no sense, but we gotta keep the kids invested in this. Even though 4 fucking turtles looking as badass and doing badass stuff on screen isn't enough to keep the interest here. It's just like, I don't get it. I don't get it at all. But other than that, though, it's a really good movie. It's a fun film. I like it for the same reasons I like the Three Stooges movie and the first Transformers movie. You could tell the effort is there because the people who are making these films are putting their effort into it. Like, it's not a great movie all across the board, but yeah, it's a movie where it does work for the most part. But then the times that don't work obviously show their full focus there. And it's just like, yeah, it definitely delivers on what it promises. But yeah, there's definitely room for improvement. Which the next film will definitely do that. Without a Shadows coming up in 2 years' time. But yeah, I like this one a lot. I thought it was a fun film overall. Can't recommend it enough. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie. Hey, we need twisters for this new modern generation of I don't even know what I'm trying to say here. Let's move on to our next movie, Twisters for the New Generation, and that is Into the Storm.
Dead.
I mean, that's literally what my first thing when I saw that trailer on the biggest screen. I basically, as soon as that scene cut to black, I was just like, well, she's dead. I mean, that's really all you can say about a movie like this. It's just like, oh, we haven't seen this done before, except for other movies that are not good either. But Into the Storm, I mean, pretty much sums it up right there for you. It's a meteorological disaster film about a rash of tornadoes striking the fictional town of Silverton, Oklahoma. Except it's in 3D, and you know, it's 2010's graphics now instead of the 1996 graphics where they actually, you know, there was at least to Twister's benefit, they actually did use practical effects mixed in with CG. This is all just CG. I mean, this movie is a snooze fest, man. For a movie about a bunch of twisters coming around and destroying all this property and all that type of stuff, it's just kind of like, this has been done better before. And even though I hate twisters, this makes twisters look like a masterpiece by comparison. Like, this movie is boring. Not a single bit of effort is put into this except in the visual effects. But I'm sorry, what do we always say here? Visuals do not make the fucking movie. I don't care how cool the twisters look. I don't care that one of them turns into a fire tornado, which twisters, by the way, you stole that from them 10 years ago with this movie. This is not a fun movie. It's a boring film. There's nothing exciting about these twisters. There's nothing exciting about these people in general because they keep putting themselves in stupid mistakes and stupid situations to put them in there. The son of one of the main characters goes into an abandoned building during a tornado. Just like, oh, gee, what's happening? It's just like, and then the building comes down. It's just like, that's one of those things where it's just like, yeah, Darwinism is telling you that you needed to die. But no, we can't do that because heaven forbid if we actually get rid of people that we don't care about. I'm sorry. I don't care about this type of a movie. It's not fun at all. It's boring. This literally makes Roland Emmerich movies look better by comparison. It's a bad movie. It's a terrible movie. It's not intriguing whatsoever. There's nothing fun about this whatsoever. Yeah, it's pretty to look at, but that doesn't make for a good movie. I got nothing else to tell you about this one. Into the Storm, it's not a good movie, so with all that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, which is The 100-Foot Journey.
100 feet across the street, the restaurant has a Michelin star.
Twinkle, twinkle. So what? My son is the best chef in Europe. Begin!
If your food is anything like your music, I suggest you turn it down.
I will turn the music down, but I will turn the heat up.
DreamWorks trying to capture the success of the Best Exotic Marigold Hotel with their own movie that's very similar to it. You have Helen Mirren in it, along with Puri Manishdeo and Charlotte LeBon, telling the story of a feud between two adjacent restaurants in a French town, one operated by a recently relocated Indian family and the other a lofty Michelin-starred restaurant. So let me guess, a movie directed by Lassie Hallstrom starring Helen Mirren in a quirky comedy. I wonder how this is going to turn out. A lot of people seem to enjoy this, and there was a lot to admire about it, but I just think it's okay overall. Like I said, it's a movie that's trying to capture the box off the recent zeitgeist of the Best Exotic Marigold Hotel movies, and you pretty much get the same thing here. Some nice visuals, a good performance, some decent stories, but other than that, though, nobody really sends this into the stratosphere. It's a crowd-pleasing film, to say the least, and you can tell that they were putting this out in the same time period as The Help, because, you know, The Help came out around the same time, and that was a big Oscar contender. They thought they had one here, and it just wasn't there with this one here. It's not a bad movie. It's not a great movie either. It's just an okay film. Nothing too spectacular, nothing too amazing. Helen Mirren's going to give a good performance in it, so I guess take that for what you will. So not much more to say about that one. That's The 100-Foot Journey. So let's go ahead and move on to our last film that we have here, which is Step Up All In.
So you got yourself a new crew. Y'all come to see some real dancing? We're ready. You came here to dance, right? Maybe we should settle. Anytime, any place. Come on.
There will be blood on the dance floor.
It's about doing whatever it takes to win.
Step Up All In, rated PG-13, August 8th, in 2D and 3D.
Or as Jerry Jones would like to call it, Step Up All In. We're all in with our guys coming on. Yeah, they go all in on the visual flair of the movie, but the dialogue, not so much. This is the last installment of the Step Up series, and kind of goes on a little bit of a whimper if you really look at it overall, but Sean brings his dance crew, known as the Mob, to Los Angeles to try and make it, but they haven't had much luck. Eventually, the Mob decides it's time to go back to Miami, but Sean decides to stay. He learns of a dance competition in Las Vegas, wherein the winner will get a 3-year contract. Sean needs a new crew, so he gets asked fellow dancer Moose for help. As Moose introduces him to Andy, another friend and dancer who got injured a few years ago, is now ready to get back in. He recruits some other friends, and they head to Las Vegas at Elementrix. Yeah, it's literally Lmntrix, and the only reason I know it's Element is because that was the name of a band from the early 2000s, Element, LMNT. When they get there, though, they discover the Mob 2 is also there, which is very touchy for Sean. So basically, they pulled a School of Rock on him and said, yeah, we think you're the worst part about our thing, so we're gonna get rid of you and replace it with somebody else. And yeah, it's pretty much what you get here, but you get some returning faces. Brianna Evigan is back from Step Up to the Streets and Step Up 3D. Alison Stoner is back in this one as well. A lot of people from the other Step Up movies are back in here. From a visual perspective, yes, this movie is incredible to look at. I mean, it's a visual fest to watch all across the board. However, this is the first one of the series where it really did feel like that the whole dynamic of the writing in general just really fell apart here. The script overall is a mess. I mean, it's basically the same tropes we've seen done before. There's nothing new about it here, but what makes this kind of worth it is the visuals. And I know I just talked about Into the Storm and how, visuals don't always make the movie. Sometimes that's an exception. I mean, the Step Up movies, I think, are the prime example of that. Like, yeah, the dialogue is terrible, the characters are pretty forgettable, but you know what? The visual look of the film and the fact that they just go all out on this, or all in this case, it really does show a lot of effort being put into these movies, and it makes it a lot of fun. I mean, that boxing scene you just saw in the trailer, there's no reason for that to be like that, but you know what? It's fun. It's amusing to watch, but yeah. And this is directed by Trish C., who, her next movie is going to be Pitch Perfect 3, the third installment of the Pitch Perfect series. We haven't gotten to Pitch Perfect 2 yet, but let's just say that film in particular was not really all that good. Was not really the best way to end that series in general. In fact, her movies overall since then have not been that great. I mean, if anything, this is probably her best overall film, but even then, that's not really saying a whole lot overall. I mean, like I said, it has a good visual look to it, but it's not enough for me to recommend it overall. I mean, yeah, it's got some good visuals, but like I just said, visuals don't usually make the movie in general, and yeah, this is maybe one of those few exceptions, but I just can't simply recommend this one just because of the visuals overall. It's just kind of it's fine, I guess, but definitely pales in comparison to the other Step Up movies, which are fun in their own unique ways. But yeah, this one's not worth it overall. So yeah, a mixed opinion on Step Up All In.
We're going nowhere.
Oh, just go talk to her, you pussy.
The last girl you had sex with was 55 years old.
Fuck you, dude. Don't bring Jane into this.
Until they pretended to be cops.
People actually think we're cops.
This one over here is hot. Over.
What if you made your own rules?
Oh, what do we have here? Oh, marijuana.
It is good to be cops.
What if you could get away with anything?
This is a police baton. I can whack the fuck out of a suspect. You're a fucking idiot.
On August 13th.
All units, domestic disturbance in progress.
Yes, let's get in the shit. No.
3 females, early 20s, possibly intoxicated.
Oh, that sounds sweet. Be careful what you wish for.
Well, I'm out.
Relax. Control the situation. That's what you get. That's what you get.
Let's Be Cops. Rated R. August 13th.
Yeah, you can pretty much tell we're in the beginnings of the dumping weeks between August and September. The weeks when the studios put out a movie they don't believe in, and so they put it out there, and people think that they're going to see something really good, and it's not. Welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. Today we are taking a look at the 3 films of August 15, 2014. All winners, by the way. And by winners, I mean real losers. Starting with our first movie, Let's Be Cops. This one, 2 struggling pals, played by Jake Johnson and Damon Wayans Jr., dressed as police officers for a costume party and become neighborhood sensations. But when these newly minted heroes get tangled in a real-life web of mobsters and dirty detectives, they must put their fake badges on the line. And yeah, other than Neighbors and 22 Jump Street, it has been a pretty weak summer for R-rated comedies. I mean, the year before, there were so many good ones. You know, We're the Millers, This Is the End, Kevin Hart, Let Me Explain, The World's End. This year, yeah, everything's ranged from meh to oh fuck you. And this one is just meh. I mean, it's a movie where it's just like, I didn't hate it, but I don't love it either. It's another one of those movies, kind of like Sex Tape, where the main characters are way too stupid for their own good. But, you know, at least in Sex Tape, the main characters were, at least in this movie, they're more saner compared to the 2 in Sex Tape, who just keep making stupid decisions, like bringing their kids along for the ride here, but at the same time, Johnson and Wayans Jr. do work off each other very well in the same way the characters on New Girl play off each other very well. And keep in mind, Damon Wayans Jr. was somebody who was going to be on New Girl, but then he then got on Happy Endings, and you know he was replaced by Lamont Morris. But these two do work off each other very well here. I mean, the fact that I've laughed more than once in this movie makes this a much better movie than Sex Tape. But then again, really isn't saying a whole lot. It falls into predictable buddy cop comedy territory and just ends up failing on every level, not giving us anything we haven't seen done to death before in other films. I mean, this makes Ride Along seem like a masterpiece, and I liked Ride Along, and I thought that was a much better movie than this was, but the biggest problem with the movie is the fact that you've got all these good comedic talents in here. Not just comedic talent, but also some television actors and notable names as well. You got Andy Garcia, Rob Riggle, Nina Dobrev, Keegan-Michael Key, James Darcy, John LaJoy, Natasha Leggero. I mean, these are all very funny people, but they're there to be stock characters. Nina Dobrev's there to be the love interest to Jake Johnson's character. You got all the characters that you're very familiar with. I mean, you got Natasha Leggero playing the stripper role again, because apparently we've only seen that one episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and everyone just said, "Fuck it, we're gonna make her that's her character from this point forward," even though that is not her at all. But yeah, a lot of this I think is contributed to Luke Greenfield, as a guy who. He's only made one movie I've actually liked of his, The Girl Next Door, but everything else, The Animal, Something Borrowed, they're just bad movies, and mostly because the director doesn't make movies that are different that we've seen done before. Like, The Animal is a high-concept comedy, but we've seen this done over and over again. Something Borrowed is just a really bad Kate Hudson romantic comedy where you hate everybody involved in it. There's no redeeming qualities in that movie whatsoever. This could have been the savior of a lackluster summer of R-rated comedies, but it takes the pussy way out, gives us a movie that isn't as well thought out as it could have been, and I mean, it could have been another Sex Tape, and unlike that film, I did laugh once in this, but once or twice or so, there was a couple of decent laughs in here, but other than that, I guess I can't really say it's a bad movie, but it just is a really underwhelming movie for a film with the talent they have involved in here. they needed something better than this. They needed a better director to come in here pretty much with this. And it's just, yeah, it's no, I don't even think Jake Johnson and David Wayans could have saved this. They couldn't have saved this movie overall. But yeah, it's a bad movie overall. But like I said, it's bad, but not the worst ever. That's what I'm trying to say. I miscombobulated my whole thing right there. But believe me, it certainly is a lot better than the next movie we have. And yeah, how about we take a franchise that started off as an R-rated series and make a PG-13 movie out of it so we can bring the families involved in it. Expendables 3.
With this much muscle in one movie, you need to see it on the big screen. Hey,
This will solve all your problems.
Expendables 3, rated 13, now playing in theaters.
Yeah, we can bring in the kids, grandma, grandpa, the puppies and all that. Let's bring them all in here for this movie that started off as literally an R-rated franchise of violence and gore featuring, well, not even violence and gore, like violence and action with all these big stars from the day. And, yeah, this movie follows the mercenary group known as the Expendables as they come into conflict with a ruthless arms dealer played by Mel Gibson, the Expendables co-founder, who is determined to destroy the team. It features the return of Stallone, Statham, Jet Li, Dolph Lundgren, Randy Couture, Terry Crews, and Arnold Schwarzenegger, and new along with the ride are Kellen Lutz, who I guess they were trying to make the next big thing because he was in The Legend of Hercules, which backfired miserably. At least this one was tolerable than that film. Ronda Rousey, Glenn Powell, one of the movies I completely forgot he was in this one. Victor Ortiz, Robert Davi, Kelsey Grammer, Wesley Snipes, the aforementioned Mel Gibson, Antonio Banderas, and Harrison Ford. And I like the first two Expendable movies. They're fun, over-the-top movies, especially the second one, with that awesome last action sequence. However, this one's expectations were incredibly low, solely because of the fact that it's a PG-13 movie. And according to Stallone, he was aiming for a PG-13 rating because he wants the franchise to be reached out to a younger and broader audience. I should say, like he was saying, yeah, you know, I want the franchise to be reached out to a younger, broader audience. I apologize for butchering your accent, Stallone, but that's just how you talk, man. But, hey, I mean, it worked back in the 80s. I mean, Rambo became a kid's show. I mean, we had a RoboCop TV series. Police Academy had a TV series. Those are all R-rated movies. And, by the way, the Police Academy TV series, I've been watching a couple of episodes on MeTV Tunes it's for the last couple of weeks. Actually, not as bad as I remember it being. I actually thought it was actually not that bad. It's much funnier than the Police Academy movie. So that should tell you something right there, but completely getting off subject here. But, I mean, that statement alone perfectly explains what's wrong with this movie. The fact that this is being aimed for young audiences points out what's wrong with the film. These are supposed to be movies aimed for people who grew up with the 80s and 90s action movies that these guys were in. This is not made for the target audience of Twilight and the Hunger Games. And so we're going to bring all these people from Twilight and the Hunger Games in here, and these young group of people in here. Like, I mean, what a hypocritical term for one of the pioneer action stars of the 80s. And like I said, it's not that the movie is bad, but when you have somebody who's made a living off of these 80s movies, 80s action films, it's hard to enjoy this without feeling a little gypped. And the fact that it's PG-13 definitely hurts because instead of those spectacular action sequences very reminiscent of the 80s and 90s, we get some of the fakest looking action sequences ever. No joke. There are scenes where people getting shot and it looks like baby powder is flying out. Like, they literally splatter baby powder in this instead of actual CG, instead of actual blood. Like, I mean, the action sequences use way too much CGI, and in this one in particular, it feels fake as all hell. Like, no effort was put into this whatsoever. The only thing I can say that works with it are the characters and the dialogue they have. There's still that good camaraderie between everybody. You know, Stallone and Kelsey Grammer have some good moments on screen. So does Jason Statham and Wesley Snipes. Antonio Banderas is pretty good in here. So is Ford and Schwarzenegger. You know, I kind of like Ronda Rousey in here. You know, she's gotten a bad rap since then, but there was a time when she could have legitimately been a decent actress overall. Like, I gotta say, she was actually pretty good in here. The best thing about the movie overall is Mel Gibson as the bad guy. I mean, it just is a role that Gibson just sinks his teeth into and just knocks it out of the park. He's the one thing you take away from this movie that's really enjoyable. And he's easily the best villain this franchise has had, honestly. Like I said, it's not a bad movie. It's just very underwhelming. A lot of it is that PG-13 rating. And look, it didn't need a PG-13 rating. These movies are made specifically for people who love those R-rated action films of the 80s and 90s, starring these guys that are not meant to be made by the same audience that would go and see Guardians of the Galaxy and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I mean, like, it's a waste of a movie that could have been something good, but it just really feels like it's a joke. And, yeah. But, to its credit, it is a lot more enjoyable than Expendables 4 is. I mean, Expendables 4 is just, good lord, that's a disaster right there. And that's the one that went back to the R rating, and Stallone basically didn't even bother to show up for his own movie. Yeah, that was literally the one where Stallone shows up in the beginning and a little bit at the end, and then that's it. This is his puppy, but the movie is not about him at all. It's not about him at all. It's more about Jason Statham and Megan Fox, who, to be told, are the best things about that movie in particular, but still doesn't make that movie that great overall. But, I mean, yeah, Expendables 3 is at least trying, even if it doesn't work all the way through. Expendables 4, yeah, that's a true mess of a film, which I covered that film before on talking about the movie. So if you want to go see my thoughts on that one, there's the link in the corner. So, not much more to say about this one. Expendables 3, not that great, but certainly is a lot better than our last movie. And I can say the same thing for Let's Be Cops, but yeah, this last one here, this is definitely the worst of the worst. It is The Giver.
In a world where differences weren't allowed, our community was one of true equality.
I will transmit to you the secret history of the world. I'm the giver.
Show me.
All colors, all emotions, those injections, take them away.
For the good of all of us. I know the truth. Something can be done. Tomorrow morning, skip your injection. Jonas has become dangerous. If you can't feel, what's the point?
Way to take a book that could have made for a really good movie, but instead, you took the young adult route. You tried to be the next Twilight and the Hunger Games, and what a shocker, you failed miserably at it. This was actually one of the earliest dystopian young adult books that we've ever had come out, because The Giver came out all the way in 1993, and it only took him 21 years to make a movie, and not a very good one. So you have a youth named Jonas living in an equalized, colorless, but pleasant society with no knowledge of love or pain. When he and his best friend Asher and Fiona come of age, they receive their societal roles, with Jonas given the rare position of receiver of memories. Because of this, he has a mentoring elder receiver, later called the Giver, played by Jeff Bridges. They look at the memories of the past world of joy, pain, and love. As Jonas receives these memories, he breaks the cardinal rule against sharing them with others, thereby getting in trouble with the watchful chief elder, played by Meryl Streep. When Jonas discovers that an infant boy named Gabriel will be terminated, his efforts to save the child put him squarely against his society, deciding that all must relearn to see color, feel pain, and show and receive love. Jonas becomes public enemy number 1. So yeah, you know that the Fairly Odd Parents did a 15-minute episode that pretty much is a better representation of The Giver than the actual Giver movie, and that's not a good sign. If a Nickelodeon cartoon from the 2000s is doing a much better job than a 2.5-hour movie, not even a 2.5-hour movie, just a little over 90 minutes, when a 90-minute movie can't even do that either. And this is not made by a hack director either. This is made by Philip Noyes, and Philip Noyes has made some of the best action movies of the 90s. I mean, Patriot Games, Clear and Present Danger, The Saint. I mean, the guy is a solid director, so it's not his fault. The movie basically suffers because, simply and effectively, it's trying to copy the Twilight Hunger Games strategy and failing miserably at it. I mean, you try to take a story that was one of the first ones to do this type of a story, and basically you put it out way past the time when Twilight, Harry Potter, Hunger Games all come out, and you just look like a film that is literally just a copy of what's been successful over the last couple of years, and it fails miserably at it overall. It's not engaging, it's not entertaining whatsoever. It's a bore of a story in general, and like I said, that short runtime really does hurt the film in the long run, because you can't really get a whole story out of this in less than 90 minutes, especially based off of a book like this. I mean, it's just a bad movie, man. It's a really terrible film. A terrible disappointment, because the book is engaging, and like I said, it was one of the first young adult dystopian books to come out, so you could have done this back in the day, and you could have had something really good with people involved in it, but you're trying to do this after Twilight came out, after the Hunger Games, after Divergent. Yeah, it just makes you look like you're just copying a trend and kind of failing miserably at it, especially considering that next month we're going to get a movie that tries to copy the young adult formula, and actually does it really well, but we'll touch on that in about a month's time, or in this case, a couple of days from now, since we'll get to September in a couple of days. But Give Her, yeah, you can give it back, plain and simple.
Can't hide in that rehearsal room forever. It's too late to see you.
It's very inconvenient to fall in love at your age, especially if it's the real thing.
Am I dying? Is that what this is?
If you live, if you die, it's all up to you.
How am I supposed to decide this?
Mia! I'm crazy in love with you. I'll do anything if you stay.
If I Stay. Tickets on sale August 8th. Rated PG-13.
And welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. Today we are taking a look at the 3 films that make up August 22nd, 2014. I said last week we were kind of in that lull between the summer movie season end and the beginning of the fall movie season where the studios put out films they really don't believe in. This weekend, not so much. In fact, I would honestly say that this and the movie that we'll end it off with here are definitely the better of the movies that we have on here. The one in the middle, though, oh boy, that one is an animal on its own merits, but we'll get to that one eventually. But let's start off with If I Stay, which is not as bad as I made it out to be, really, but, you have Chloe Grace Moretz playing Mia Hall, though the hardest decision she would ever face would be whether to pursue her musical dreams at Juilliard or follow a different path with the love of her life, Adam. What should have been a carefree family drive changes everything in an instant, and now her own life hangs in the balance, caught between life and death for one revealing day. Mia has only one decision left, which will not only decide her future, but her ultimate fate. So it's essentially a movie that's kind of an out-of-body experience type of film in general, with Chloe Grace Moretz in the leading role here, along with Jamie Blackley as the guy she's fallen in love with. It also has Morel Enos, Aisha Hines from 911, Laura Lane Smith, Liana Liberato, who will later be in another Nicholas Sparks movie later on this year, The Best of Me, Stacy Keach. So there's a decent cast involved in here. This is directed by R.J. Cutler, who directed a couple documentaries. He did, more recently, he did the Belushi documentary, which was really good, as well as Elton John, Never Too Late, which was a very underrated Disney Plus documentary that came out a couple years ago. So he's been kind of a decent director overall. Shauna Cross also wrote this. She also wrote Whip It, which was one of my favorite underrated films from 2009, which coincidentally this is when the book this is based on came out. And overall, it's fine, I guess. It's nothing really anything amazing. It could be a little bit too manipulative at times, like it's trying to grab those cheap emotions out of you. But like I said, we're gonna get to a movie in just a little bit here that's even more manipulative than this. This movie makes the next movie makes this movie look better by comparison when we talk about emotional manipulation for just what they're trying to accomplish with that. But I'm talking more about the next movie than this movie here. This one's perfectly fine. I think there is a solid idea here overall. It's like they took the idea from that terrible Hayden Christensen movie, Awake, which had a good premise, but a bad execution, and said, okay, let's take this idea, except let's make it so that the person who's unconscious is out in the world and she can actually see what's going on, instead of just having, Hayden Christensen screaming on a table for like 20 minutes and having all this weird mystery twist plot involving Jessica Alba. Again, I'm talking about every other movie except this movie here. This movie does it at least a little better because the acting is much better. You can tell that there's an idea of what they're trying to get across here. It does feel a little too much like they're trying to copy The Fault in Our Stars' success, even though that just came out a couple of months before this. But it's not a bad movie. It's not a bad film at all. It just seems like they're trying to force it a little bit too much, tug at your heartstrings a little bit, but like I said, it's much better than some other movies that we've talked about and we're going to get to later on down the road here. It's passable, nothing too spectacular, nothing too amazing. I'd say watch it for the performances, but other than that, though, yeah, it's nothing really all that amazing, so with all that said, let's get to this film that I'm about to talk about here, and that is When the Game Stands Tall. Now, I'll tell you this. I will let you know that when I saw the trailer that I'm about to show you here, all I could think to myself is, all this is happening because they lost one game out of 151 games. Like, this is one of those movies where, If I Stay may seem manipulative at times, but it's nothing compared to what I'm about to show you here, because this movie, oh my god, man, this was rough.
If there's anything anyone wants to say, that was your shot.
We will never experience anything like this again in our lives.
My grandfather waits for me to get back from practice just so I can tell him how we're doing.
I'll tell you guys. We always say to finish strong, right?
De La Salle streak and tradition continue.
all year.
12 years, 151 games in a row. But we were never just about winning. We were built on families.
Good, Coach. Get my baby out of Richmond.
And our town coming together.
The longest winning streak in sports history is now over.
But losing the streak tested us all.
Let some punk pull you down at the 2-yard line.
Dad, please.
Don't let a game define who you are. Let the way you live your lives do that.
It's just a high school football game.
Ever since day one, we've been doing what's best for us. You and me getting out of here together.
You heard from him?
People always ask me what it's like to never lose. Today I am lost. All the things I taught, I don't know if I'm still doing much good here.
I just want you happy and healthy. DNA! Call 911!
Once again, everything that happens from this point forward is because they lost one game in 12 years. Like, this movie feels like you ever see the Fansville commercials they do during the college football season for Dr. Pepper, where it's clearly a satirical jab at these type of at movies like at movies and TV shows like this. Yeah, imagine if this is Fansville, except they took it 100% seriously because they lost one game. That's this movie in general here. Inspired by the true story, When the Game Stands Tall tells the remarkable journey, remarkable my ass, of a legendary football coach played by Jim Caviezel, Bob Ladossier, who takes the De La Salle High School Spartans from obscurity to a 151-game winning streak that shatters all records for any American sport. But of course, as I said, they lose one game and then all of a sudden, it's like all hell broke loose. I mean, it's like, as soon as they lost that game, the universe just decided to say, my time to shine. It's like, yeah, here's one of your players getting shot and killed. Here's your coach having a heart attack. It's just kind of like, here's your abusive father pushing you around because, you didn't do this certain thing. It's just kind of like, this is a joke, right? This has to be a joke. Like, I get it. Look, I'm not going to say... Look, I haven't read this book that this movie's based off of, so this is just a personal judgment of the film itself. And honestly, this looks like a much boring, less inspired version of Friday Night Lights. I mean, the acting looks okay, I guess. The directing isn't too bad. This is directed by Thomas Carter, who has made some good movies. We've touched on them a couple times during the show. Metro with Eddie Murphy, Coach Carter, Save the Last Dance. So he's not a bad director overall. And the whole problem with the movie stems from one element. The fact that this all happens because they lost one game of 151 games. If you fall apart this badly because you lost one game, you weren't playing anybody that special. You were basically playing Bishop Sycamore for 150 games in a row. Like, it's just like for those of you who don't know who Bishop Sycamore is, look them up because they're a delightful little story about one of the worst football teams ever put to the field. Not just in college, pro, anywhere. But, yeah. I mean, this whole movie shows nothing but happiness and awesomeness when they win these games. It's like, oh, we're unstoppable, we're unbeatable. But then they lose this one game, and then all hell breaks loose. The dad has to be an asshole to his son because he lost one game. One of the football players gets shot and killed because of losing one lousy game. The coach has a friggin' heart attack not because of the stress, but because he lost one fucking game. You feel me pounding the table, because that's how much this whole thing is so stupid. This whole movie is set up to think that it's only because they lost this one game that all hell's breaking loose, and this town's basically going to turn into Armageddon. It's just kind of like, in Friday Night Lights and We Are Marshall, the teams have a purpose and a reason to struggle with high school football. And both of those movies, as well as other football films at this time, do a great job of showing the struggles they face. In We Are Marshall, the whole thing is that the team crashes, the team falls apart because, the whole team is dead from an airplane crash. So, yeah, you have to find a way to get back to where you were. Like, that makes sense. That makes sense because, yeah, this is a town dealing with a serious tragedy. All these players, all these coaches, all these people that they loved, all gone from this plane accident. And, yeah, it's something where it's just like, yeah, you get behind it because you want to root this team on. You don't want to root anybody on this team on in general. All you see from them from losing this one game is just like, man, you guys are such the biggest crybabies ever. Like this. Like, it's like they're forcing you to feel sorry for this team because they lost one game and they ended their winning streak. The Chicago Bulls, the Miami Heat, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the New England Patriots, these different sports teams that had these long championship streaks, lost games during the season where they would win the NBA Finals and the Super Bowl. But did anybody die or get sick because of losing that game? No. They let it get past them because they were thinking about the next game ahead of them. You know, LeBron James doesn't get shot by a random person after losing the NBA Finals that year. You know, Ben Roethlisberger doesn't have a heart attack after he loses the Super Bowl back in 2011. You know, Michael Jordan didn't have a neglectful father when he lost one game to the Lakers in the 1991 NBA Finals. You know what they did? They moved on. They practiced what they needed to practice and worried about winning the next game. And they went on to put most of them went on to win championships in the end. But you get my point. Like, I'm sorry, I have no sympathy for this football team whatsoever because of all this. It's just kind of like, you know, it sucks, but you know what? That's just a way of life, and if you can't handle that, yeah, I don't feel sorry for you whatsoever. It's just so damn predictable on so many levels. And not the good kind of predictable, like in Friday Night Lights, We Are Marshall, Remember the Titans, Invincible, Little Giants, you know, these stories about these underdog football teams and these teams that are in a situation that they have to come back from. But no, this is like the people that you need to feel sorry for in Gridiron Gang or The Program or Radio or Air Bud Golden Receiver. The same old predictable story about something happens to these teams that they have to learn to get along and that they can become champions. And again, the book might be like this as well, or maybe not, but this is still a stupid, stupid movie. So much that nobody is going to want to see this film. And sure enough, nobody went to go see it. It was a film that kind of came and went, and nobody really ever talks about it. But it's just like every sport is, all these other sports movies I've touched on, you know, other ones that I haven't brought up, you know, like Invincible, or The Blind Side, Any Given Sunday, Varsity Blues, Replacements, Leatherheads. They're much better sports movies than this Lifetime Movie of the Week garbage here. It's a stupid-looking movie. It's a terrible-looking film. This feels like another movie where it's trying to force you to feel sorry for this one kid that did something stupid. Breakthrough. Like, I'll never forget how bad that movie was, because it was a movie where it's just like, oh, feel sorry for this kid who did something stupid and fell through the ice, and, you know, instead of his parents actually doing everything they can to save him, just like, no, we're gonna use the power of God to save him. It's just like, no, that movie is fucking terrible too. But this one, I mean, this is just, oh my god, this movie is just so, like, entitled and so childish. Like, the fact that all hell breaks loose because they have never felt a sense of losing in 12 years. 12 years, they have never felt a sense of losing. But then, when this happens, it's just like the world is coming to an end. Like, the bomb has dropped. A nuclear bomb has just dropped. Like, it feels like the sports equivalent of watching something like the Testament or The Day After. It's just like, you lost a football game. Okay, so you move on. Like, it's just like, you get the point. You get the point I'm trying to get across here. This is a fucking terrible movie. This is a movie that is not good whatsoever. The only thing that holds it together is the direction and some of the performances, which are fine on their own, but the script is just a mess. And the whole thing about, oh, feel sorry for this team because they lost 1 out of 152 games. It's like, fuck you. Fuck you so hard, man. Anyway, yeah, that's all I got to say about this movie. Yeah, this is definitely one of the, not only the worst movie this week, one of the worst movies of the year, easily. So let's go ahead and get back on track with easily the best movie of the weekend, and sadly nobody went to go see it. But then again, considering that it's been nearly 10 years since the first Sin City movie, there's probably a reason why they didn't go and see it, but they missed out on something really special with A Dame to Kill For.
Get her out of my head. She owns me.
Kill him.
This time she's crossed a fatal line. She betrayed me.
I rule Sin City.
Need your help. Means going up against a lot of guns. Until I defeat the goddess. You're a predator. Destroying lives. I'll be coming for you soon.
Sin City, A Dame to Kill For.
I mean, honestly, you can't really blame Josh Brolin, man. Ava Green, I mean, Jesus. I mean, yeah, Ava Green is not only beautiful, but she can play a villainous role more than any other female actress we've covered in the last couple of years. Because, yeah, she knocks it out of the park once again in this movie. And this is actually a really, really good movie. And not only a good movie, a really good sequel that comes way after the first movie came out. And yet, nobody went to go see it. Kind of like with the other big surprise of the year, with also Eva Green in it, 300 Rise of an Empire. Again, based off of a Frank Miller book. But co-directors Robert Rodriguez and Frank Miller reunite to bring Miller's Sin City graphic novels to the big screen once again. Weaving two of Miller's classic stories with new tales, the town's most hard-boiled citizens cross paths with some of its most notorious inhabitants. The film features an all-star cast and includes the returns of Jessica Alba, Rosario Dawson, Jamie King, Jude Cicello, Powers Booth, Mickey Rourke, and Bruce Willis, but also adds in Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Josh Brolin, Jamie Chung, Dennis Haysbert, Martin Sakakis, Christopher Lloyd, Julia Garner, Juno Temple, Ray Liotta, Stacey Keach, Christopher Maloney, Alexa Vega, I keep forgetting that she changed her last name, Alexa Penavega, Lady Gaga, Jeremy Piven, Christine McCallum, and the aforementioned Ava Green. And yeah, the original Sin City is one of my favorite movies, man. It's a movie that helped to set the tone for the way we look at comic book movies nowadays. And we knew that they were eventually going to make a sequel 9 years later, but still we got it. I mean, in 9 years, it took them to put a follow-up together. For a property like this, you can't wait too long. This isn't like Godzilla or Ninja Turtles, which are long-standing franchises that can sell on its own name. I mean, Sin City just isn't really a profitable franchise that could sell its film mainly on the name. I mean, the box office sadly proved that fact in general here. It also doesn't help that Frank Miller has turned into one of the most detestable people on the planet for what he did with All-Star Batman and Robin, Holy Terror, and of course The Spirit, one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. So yeah, this was going to be a hard movie to sell to people in 2014, and you know, I actually did kind of enjoy this movie. It's nowhere near as good as the first one, of course, but it certainly kicks the crap out of The Spirit. I mean, it's a good follow-up. It's a good follow-up to one of the more innovative comic book movies of its time, and there's a lot I liked about it. One, the visuals I thought were pretty good. I thought they were actually very well done, easily fitting into the Sin City motive that they set up in the comics and in the first movie. Powers Booth, I think, sells this movie in general. I thought his performance as Rourke was great in this, Senator Rourke. I mean, he's not just a great actor, but when he plays this role, he goes completely over the top and just nails it. I mean, he's great to watch in this. Mickey Rourke, once again, giving another solid performance in this movie. I mean, you know, he knocks it, again, he's that cool, slick badass he was in the first movie, where he just doesn't care about life, but he lives it to the fullest. I mean, the best line in the movie from him is where he's just going like, looks like Christmas. I mean, a bad line, but for Marv, I mean, the way he does it, it just works. Ava Green's naked through the majority of the movie. Maybe that's why I love her so much in this. But no, Ava Green, I've always liked her as a badass villain. I mean, she really is great to watch in this. I mean, like, again, like, why cast Marion Cotillard in villain roles, Christopher Nolan? Like, you get, like, Ava Green does a better job as a villain than her or Salma Hayek in Savages or so many other movies where, you know, these actresses who are trying their best to be villains and they're just not really working it, man. The song, the end theme by Steven Tyler was surprisingly really good too. Like, Skin City actually is a pretty damn catchy song in general here. It just makes you kind of forget the way the movie ends, which is very uneven, which does lead to the biggest problems with the movie, and there's three big ones in particular. First up, there are a lot of cliches that set in too fast. Look, Joseph Gordon-Levitt is somebody that I will always defend, and I will always go see anything he's involved in. He's great in this movie too. But he plays a character who can't lose, and you know exactly what's going to happen to him. The film doesn't even try to make us think otherwise. We know what's going to happen to him. The same thing can be said for the Dwight-Ava subplot. We know that Ava's using Dwight, and we know that Ava's going to use Dwight to get her ways. And not only that, but she does the same thing with the cop as well. And we already know that this is going to end, and when that happens, it's just like, oh, what a shocker. It's just like, why did I even bother getting involved in this? The time jumps in this movie are out of control, too. That's the second biggest problem here. Like, at one point, the film feels like a sequel to the first film, but then out of nowhere, it just completely changes the story and takes place before the first film. And there's no way to tell what time period it is. And it's like Frank Miller loved the idea of, you know, going around the concept of time and space, just like he did in All-Star Batman and Robin, and said, I can do this in movie form, because that's exactly what it feels like when you watch this movie. Third, the first movie perfectly bookends the movie itself with a Josh Hartnett character, but here, it really has no real point to it. Jessica Alba's Nancy gets her revenge on Powers Booth's Rourke by killing him, and then, that's all, folks. I'm not even kidding. The movie literally just ends with that. And it's just kind of like, that's it? I mean, really, you're ending it there? It's just like you're not even going to set up any potential sequel or anything? It's just like, it felt like by the end, nobody gave a shit by the end of the movie, and Frank Miller just said, that's all, folks. Just end it here. I don't care about ending this. And it's just like, you can't have that mentality about ending something that you can't even finish. Like, I don't care if you don't give a crap about anything anymore. It's just like, after the shit you pulled with the Batman comics and all that, but, like, I mean, show us that you still give a crap and not just be a selfish dickhead. I mean, honestly, just be a better person, man. Honestly, just, yeah, it's I mean, I'm honestly more torn about this movie in general. I mean, it's okay, I guess, but it's definitely, far from okay. I'd say it's a good movie. It's definitely a step down from the first film. It's like they wanted to make this happen, but they also kind of didn't want to make it. It felt more like they were about to lose the rights or something, so they said, hey, let's go ahead and make this movie, see if we can get anything out of it. And there's a lot I liked about it, but overall, when I came out of the film, I was just kind of like, I was underwhelmed by it. I was underwhelmed by it at first, but the more I think about it, I've come to really appreciate it more. But even then, I can't really argue that it's a good movie either way, shape, or form. But hey, it at least kicks the crap out of the spirits, so there is at least that. So I have to give the movie points where points are due. So, not much more to say about it. Sin City, A Dame to Kill For.
Thousands of people visit the Paris catacombs.
This is the Empire of the Dead.
It's holding the remains of 6 million corpses. We go through here?
On August 29th.
Did you hear that?
Discover its darkest secret.
What is this place? The gates of hell.
As above, so below.
Yeah, I know, but then again, this is from the same director that gave us Devil and Quarantine, so are you really that surprised? Welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. Today, before I even start anything, you might notice our title is different because I have 2 dates on there. And I mostly did that because, really, the next week after this, there ain't nothing coming out except for one notable movie. That's The Identical, but we'll get to that one eventually. So I decided, you know what, I'll just go ahead and put these 2 weeks together. So, kill 2 birds with 1 stone if you want to think of it that way. So we are taking a look at the weekends of August 29th and September the 5th. This first weekend in particular having 3 movies, and the biggest one of them all is As Above, So Below. And that should pretty much tell you that it was not a very good weekend. And then again, this is Labor Day weekend. This is before Hollywood realized that every weekend matters at the box office. Because, yeah, back about 12 years ago, they basically said, just dump whatever garbage we have out there. And sure enough, As Above, So Below is that film. Stop me if you've heard this, because this is a revolutionary idea. A group of friends decide to go down into an area they should not be going into, and what a shocker, they're confronted by supernatural forces in the catacombs of Paris in search of the Philosopher's Stone. What are we, in Harry Potter world right now? I mean, this movie is fucking stupid, man, and it falls into every single territory that you could possibly think of with a found footage horror film. It's just like, yeah, let's get these actors who are trying to pretend that this is real footage, let's try to get some fake scares in here, and it's amazing. The Catacombs of Paris literally said, no, you're good to go to do this. Let's do this. Why not? Let's do it this time around, and yeah, what a shocker. It turns out to be as bad as it is. Yeah, it's the literal definition of a movie where they had no idea what they were doing. They just said, let's do a found footage film because this is something that hasn't been done before, even though it has. Because Paranormal Activity is the norm now. Even though Paranormal Activity stopped making movies at this point, but it's just a bad movie, man. It's not scary at all. The acting is fake as all hell. It has everything you hate about found footage movies. Jump scares, moments where you turn around and there's nothing there, and then you go back and then there's something there to jump at you. Just like, it's not scary at all. And I know this thing's got a reputation, it's got a bigger response in the years since then, since it's come out, but it's not a good movie, man. I don't care if it got popular through Netflix. It's not a good movie. This guy is a terrible director, John Eric Dowdle. He's never made one good movie in his career, nor has his brother. It's a terrible movie. It's a terrible film. It's the literal definition of let's dump a movie that we know is garbage out on Labor Day weekend, and let's pretend like it's the big new release when it's really not. Because on any other weekend, this thing would have gotten killed immediately. But because it was out on this weekend, not surprisingly, it was a box office hit despite critics trashing it, and rightfully so, because it's not a very good movie. So yeah, let's keep the train of bullshit coming with our next movie, Pierce Brosnan in The November Man.
I was trained by the best agent the CIA's ever known. And one day, he disappeared.
Sir, we have an issue.
Peter Devereaux. He has information on the agency.
The call is to terminate.
I do what I'm told to do, sir.
The CIA conspired to start a war that killed hundreds of thousands of people.
Now he'll come after us with everything he's got.
November Man, rated R.
Yeah, sadly, that commercial does not show you the true horrors of this movie. One of the stupidest lines I've ever heard in an action movie. You want to hear it? Here it is.
You know what we used to call you, Peter? The November Man. Because after you passed through, nothing lived.
What does that even mean? It makes no sense whatsoever. After you pass through, nothing lived. What does that have to do with the month of November? I mean, it makes no sense whatsoever. That's got to be the stupidest line I've ever heard in an action movie that's supposed to be taken so seriously. It baffles me that they used that as the marketing and thought that that was going to be a way to sell this movie. And, I've tried to look for a reasoning for that phrasing overall. Like, why'd they call him the November Man because of that? Like, I can't find anything. So, yeah, this movie has no idea what the hell it's even talking about here, but... Anyway, this is Pierce Brosnan, starring as a former CIA agent who was asked by the man why did I say it like that? Because I thought the sentence was ending there. I'm sorry, but who was asked by the man he worked for to extract a woman who is in Russia. I'm clearly lost right now, and is presently close to a man running for president who is believed to have committed crimes during the Chechen War. She can give them the name of someone who can prove it. His friend says that she will only come to him. So he goes and she gets the info and tries to get out, but the man finds out and tries to stop her. Did that first trailer give you any indication that this was the case overall? And no. The answer is no. Because this is a movie that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. I mean, the premise is stupid. The film is a bland, generic mess of a film. You got Olga Kurylenko from Max Payne and Hitman, and Luke Bracey, who they were really trying to push as the next big star, because they'll have a couple of movies come up in the next couple of years. None of them really good. The Best of Me, the Point Break remake. It's directed by Roger Donaldson. Roger Donaldson's not a bad director overall, but at the same time, nothing about this movie makes any sense whatsoever. And on top of that, it's a bland, generic-ass spy film. There's nothing about it that you haven't seen done before. Cliches that are all over the place, and it just feels like a film that was never meant to be put on a theater screen. This movie felt like a film that should have been straight to DVD, should have gone to Netflix, should have gone wherever, could have gone on television. There was nothing about this movie that says this needed to be on a big screen. There just simply is not. I got nothing else for you. November Man, just a stupid movie. Stupid movie. I still can't get over that line. It's a line so stupid that I can't even remember when I'm about to explain why it's terrible. Again, let's listen to it together.
You know what we used to call you, Peter? The November Man. Because after you passed through, nothing lived.
What does that even mean? I don't get it. I don't get it at all. I gotta get away from this movie, man. So, let's go ahead and move on to another movie about crime. This time it's a comedy. It's based off of an Elmore Leonard book, and it's called Life of Crime.
I am that hard.
You hope you didn't.
You're a hunk, but you are a piss poor extortionist, if you don't mind me saying.
He's so dumb. It's adorable.
So in this movie, Jennifer Aniston plays Margaret Nikki Dawson, who's a housewife, and her husband, Frank, played by Tim Robbins, has been embezzling millions for years without her knowledge. Career criminals Lewis and Ordell catch wind of a scheme and figure out if they hold Mickey for ransom, Frank would have no choice but to pay up big, without realizing Frank is head over heels for his mistress Melanie, and he doesn't want his wife back. The cast also includes, you have Frank and Ordell, Ordell played by, Lewis and Ordell, that's what I'm trying to say. I'm so confused right now. Lewis and Ordell are played by John Hawkes and Yassine Bey. Marshall Taylor is played by Will Forte. You have Mark Boone Jr., Clea Lewis, Kevin Corrigan, Tim Robbins, as I mentioned before, Isla Fisher in here. This is a movie that kind of came and went overall. It's based off of an Elmore Leonard book, like I said, The Switch, which they probably changed it because Jennifer Aniston was already in a movie called The Switch back in 2010, which was okay, I guess, and that's kind of the way to sum up this movie in general. It's okay. It's definitely not one of the better Elmore Leonard adaptations, because, when you're comparing this to something like Jackie Brown, and Out of Sight, and Get Shorty, and Be Cool, and 3:10 to Yuma, yeah, you're obviously going to lose that battle with this movie here. But, again, it's better than stuff like The Big Bounce. It's better than 52 Pickup. You know, it's better that stick, better than a lot of these bad Elmore Leonard adaptations that came out. And it works because the cast overall is really good. There is a lot of good moments with everybody involved in here. Will Forte's really good. Jennifer Aniston's really good in this movie. You know, Mos Def, a.k.a. Yassine Bey, is very good in this film. I mean, you keep forgetting that, yeah, this guy's a great rapper, but he's a hell of an actor, too. 16 Blocks. And he was one of the few things I really liked about Next Man Up. John Hawkes is one of our great underrated actors. So there's a lot of good things about the movie in general. I think maybe if the script and the director of this would have been more, they wouldn't have just gotten somebody who clearly probably should have done more stuff like direct-to-video stuff in general. Like, I think maybe you could have had somebody there, like, if you could have gotten somebody like maybe not a Quentin Tarantino or a Barry Sonnenfeld, but somebody at least close to that caliber, you probably would have had something really good here. But other than that, though, it's alright for what it is. Not bad, not awful, but not great either. So, a mixed opinion on that one, so.